going to do my best to use my loud voice and not the microphone because I really don't care to hear myself through a microphone. So if you can't hear me in the background, just kind of do this. So when you talk every day, you kind of get used to projecting loudly. So my name is Michael Fields, for those of you who may not know me, the Assistant Professor of Business and Program Manager. And I'm also new to the campus for anyone who's like, I've been around for a while and I've never seen this guy. I just started here in August. So tonight's event is a speaker series. We have our speakers here. And the event is sponsored by the Student Business Club. So what I'd like to do real quick is quickly introduce the members who could make it tonight. We have some active members. A couple couldn't be here, but we do have William Slockish and also, if you know Sharon Woody or Alicia Perry, they've been active members off and on throughout the semester. Our voting member right now is Vernon Valencia. Our secretary is W. Valdez. Our treasurer, Lynette Antonio. And where's Jesse?
I'm up here. Jesse's
upstairs. He's our vice president running the soundboard. So Jesse's upstairs. And then our president is Taylor Spangler. So if it wasn't for these individuals, this event wouldn't be going on right now. So you can thank them. We also encourage all students to join us if you're interested in the Student Business Club. Our next meeting is Tuesday, May 6th at 11 a.m. So all students are welcome to come join us. We do meet in Martinez room 03, right behind this Cyber Cafe and the Snack Shack there. And then I also want to thank all of the faculty, staff, and administration and students that supported tonight's event. We kind of planned this in about 4 weeks, and spring break was in there. So that's why it was kind of, some people weren't aware of it, but I do appreciate everybody who supported us and helped this event to come to fruition tonight. Also, obviously, we want to thank the 4 people from on your left and your right, our speakers. We have Victor Rashana, owner of Surf Shack, Angelica Hollowhorn, who is the career development specialist for Workforce Development Office, and they're all going to tell their stories in a moment here. We have Eileen Yarborough, Executive Director of Cibola Communities Economic Foundation, and we have John Enriquez, the store manager at Walmart. Okay? So I know everybody's got a program, but I'm going to just quickly go over kind of the format for the evening. I'm going to start out having each of our speakers. Actually, on a quick programming note, there's a 5th speaker listed. She is a nursing administrator at the hospital, and I spoke to her at 4 o'clock, and they've got patients in the ICU that need their attention, and we decided it was probably best for her to stay at work and take care of patients versus coming over here this evening. Although they are going to do their best to get over here. We hope to make this a biannual event every semester, fall and spring, so they've already committed that they'll put us on the calendar for the fall. So we hope to do this again and again and again until you guys don't want us to anymore. So our first 20 minutes or so, each of the speakers will give up to about 5 minutes of their career story, kind of what they do, where they're at, where they're working, and how they got there. And then for about 15 to 20 minutes after that, there's some prepared questions that they've had a chance to look at that were submitted from students, and we'll kind of go through those with their prepared answers. And then the last 15 or 20 minutes, we will then have open Q&A for the audience. And our wireless mic, we couldn't get it to work as we set up the sound, so we'll just ask for you to speak loudly when we get to that portion. So with no further ado, let's turn to our speakers. And who would like to be first? Don't jump at once.
Let's go, Victor!
Victor, you're up. All right. Yeah.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for coming. Thank these guys for inviting us. My name is Victor Briseño. I'm the owner-operator at Surf Shack Pizza and the Skate Shack roller rink here in town. Basically, my story is from the age of 13, I started working in the restaurant business. I moved here 20 years ago from Southern California, the LA area. Completely different environment. But the way we ended up out here is we came out on vacation, fell in love with the clear skies and the number of stars you guys have out here compared to Southern California. And a year later, we were out here. We didn't know anybody out here. In fact, I didn't even know Grants existed because I drove coming west, south of through Gallup, and ended up, out past Rama, out in the El Moro Monument area. And so after we came out on vacation, we went back and we were like, man, how can we get out there? And so anyways, I had started working in the restaurant business since I was 13. When I was probably about 23, when my son kind of started getting a little bit older and able to do sports and different family events, and it was very difficult for me to enjoy that. So I got out of that, went into a couple of different areas of work. But when we came out here, that was a vehicle for us to be able to move out here. And so everybody told us we were crazy. Everybody said, is that a different country? Do you speak Spanish? Which I do. I was actually born in Mexico and been in the United States since I was 5. And so we came out here. We originally opened another restaurant that was called the Uranium Cafe when we first came out. And did that for 3.5 years, kind of found out what was job availability was out here. Went to work out at the paper mill for about 8.5 years. Back then it was McKinney Paper, and it's changed names over the years. And I always missed the restaurant business. So my wife wouldn't allow me to get back in it. Every month I would tell her, how about let's open a taco place? No. How about a hot dog place, a chicken place, every kind of restaurant. And finally, for some of you guys who might remember, Surf Shack was DJ's Pizza before it was Surf Shack. Before that, it was Godfather's, way back in the early 80s, I guess, before my time. So we got to work, did a whole lot of remodeling, spent a lot of time getting it going. And I think one of the things when we talk about business and how to become successful, I'm super, super blessed that I have an awesome partner in my wife who is very creative. She comes up with awesome ideas, and then I just have to be able to keep up work-wise to implement her ideas. So I have an advantage, I think, over a lot of people. So I consider myself very blessed to have her, and we make a good team because we're completely different personalities. If you saw her, you would see she's completely different for me in every other way, nationalities and personalities, the way we think, but we just make a really good team. We love the city of Grants and the area, and we feel lucky to have found this community because we've made more good friends here in this area than back home where we knew only 1 or 2 people on our street. So once we get into the remainder of the program, we'll go into some of the other things that helped us become successful. So thank you guys.
Evening. My name is Angelica Hollhorn. I am the Career Development Specialist for the Workforce Connection. I'm also the site manager for the Cibola Workforce Center here in Grants. Where do I start? I graduated high school in 1998. My very first job was in the banking business. I did that for 5 years straight out of high school. It was not a job for me. I didn't want to be stuck in a cubicle with no interaction. Decided to go back to college and see where that led me. Had no direction. But I had turning me off because I really wanted to interact with people. I wanted to help people. And then all of a sudden I left the state of Arizona to go to Mexico. I actually am an alumni here at NMSU Grants. I graduated in 2006. Thank you, Beth. She was awesome. Also, my mother was formerly employed here, and she helped a lot. So I got started, and once I graduated from here, I did actually do work at Lyle Papel, kind of clerical stuff, but that wasn't the direction I wanted to go. And then all of a sudden, career development specialist popped up in the paper, and that's how I got this job. I've been with the New Mexico workforce for 5 years now. And I started out just case management, worked my way up, and now I'm a site manager, and I love helping people. I don't live here. I commute from Gallup. I'm only here 2 days out of the week, but I'm hoping to change that here soon. We are pushing to actually make this workforce office full-time rather than 2 days out of the week. I know the Grants area definitely needs this workforce office, so we're pushing. Other than that, I think that's it.
Good evening. My name is Eileen Chavez Yarborough. I am the Executive Director of Cibola Communities Economic Development Foundation. I am from Grants, San Mateo area. I grew up here, raised here. I am a graduate of New Mexico State University. Go Aggies. And I'm also a graduate of the Economic Development Institute of Oklahoma University. So I started out in the banking industry, and I was a recruiter for human resources, and did that for about 2 years, and then moved into credit analysis for a year. Moved to Washington. My spouse was in the Army, so we moved a little bit, and did human resources and payroll as well. And then I chose to be a stay-at-home mom for 15 years. And have 4 children, and that was probably the most challenging job I've ever had. So after that, I decided to get back into the workforce, but started out volunteering first, and that's how I got involved with my next career time. I volunteered or represented my husband's business on the Chamber of Commerce. And so I was asked to serve on the board of directors and did that for 3 years. I was chairman of the board, and from that experience, I was asked to become the president or executive director of the chamber, and did that for 6 years. Did all of that in Texas, the 15 years stay-at-home mom and the 9 years with the Chamber of Commerce. And it's in the Chamber of Commerce business that I got involved, that developed my interest in economic development. And so, went to school for that, and really, really wanted to make a career change. I wanted to give it a try and see if I could do it. I heard that there was going to be a job opening in economic development here in my hometown, and I just thought, wow, what an opportunity to get to come back home, and an opportunity to help my community, a good way to give back. And next thing you know, I got the job, and I've been here for 2.5 years. And I'm very excited about what I do. I really enjoy my position here, and hope to help make great things happen for Grants, Milan, and Cibola County.
Hey, good afternoon. I'm John Enriquez. My real name is Juan. The only person that ever called me that was my mother when she was mad. When I heard that name, I was in trouble. Most of my life, I was known by Johnny. When I got into management at Walmart, my wife says, that sounds dumb. You sound like a little kid. So she made me change it to John. So I'm John. But anyway, I started off in high school working at a pizza place. It was down in Douglas, Arizona. It's a little town just like Grants. very similar to population, to the mix of people, what's there. Very similar, so I feel very home here in Grants. I've been here about 5 months. There was an opening here at Walmart I put in, and I got the job, so here I am. Anyway, when I was in high school, I was delivering pizza. Johnny wanted a Trans Am, which he got, right? Came with a $323 payment. I'll never forget that payment, because I paid that payment for a long time. But you've ever seen Smokey and the Bandit, that black Trans Am he had? I had one. Wish I still had it. So I was the coolest guy in high school, right? But I couldn't afford the payment, so I had to work. So I didn't have time to drive the thing because I was always working. So I delivered pizza in it. And that's what I did. Got me through high school, got me a little spending money. Got to know a lot of people, got to know the business. Worked really hard at it. I earned the owner's trust. My senior year, I was closing the business for him. When I showed up at 5, he'd leave, I'd run the place for him in the evening, and I'd collect the revenue at night, take it to his house, drop it off, and next day I was in school. And that's what I did. Just became, hard work was something that we just did. I think it was my first year in college. I was in community college down there. He ran into some problems. He had to sell the place. The banker, back then it was easier, everything was local. The local banker, who was a customer there, talked to me one day and said, "Why don't you buy the place?" And I said, "Well, I'm 19 years old, I can't buy this place. He's going to give me $80,000 is what he wanted." To the banker, it didn't seem like a lot of money. To me, it was like, wow, that's a lot of money. And he asked me, "Hey, is your dad's house paid off?" I don't know. I'll ask him. My dad was always, he was cash. He paid for everything up front. His house was paid off, which I found out. So I asked him, "Hey, would you put your house up for collateral?" And of course he said, "Are you crazy? You must be nuts. You're 19 years old. Who have you been talking to?" I talked to him for a couple of weeks, a month. Finally said, "Let me go talk to this banker." So we did. The loan got approved. He put the house up as collateral. He said, "If you lose this house, I'll kill you." 2 years later, the business was paid for. I was an entrepreneur in a pizza business. It was exciting time of my life. How many 19-year-olds owned a pizza shop, It was a busy pizza shop. It was like the best one in town. So I did that for 10 years. Learned a lot about customer service, hard work, taking care of your employees, your customers especially. It was a good learning experience. But after about 10 years, I've had enough because I was working holidays, weekends. When everybody was having fun, I was working. So Victor probably knows how that is. But it was a good experience. So I went to work for Radio Shack right after that. They were right next door. I sold the place to my brother, who thought, I want to do that. So he bought the place for me. I went to work for Radio Shack. I made management in about a year, so I was running the Radio Shack in that local town. Well, the company decided we weren't doing enough business, so they decided we're going to close up. So here I was, no job. Walmart was coming to town. So I applied for management course, and of course they had their management team already selected, so they said, "Well, you can come in. We need people to unload trucks, all these things that we do at Walmart, push carts." I said, "I'll take whatever." So actually, my first job at Walmart was unloading trucks. When we get a truck at Walmart, it's a whole semi, and it's packed, from front to back, top to bottom with boxes. Well, we unload by hand, About 5 guys get in there with a set of rollers, and we just start throwing boxes on there, sorting by department and area. So I did that for about 6 months. I was determined to get on the management program, which I did. A year later, I was in management. I was an assistant manager. And I did that for about 10 years down in Sierra Vista, Arizona, if you guys are familiar with southern Arizona, Tucson area. So I did that. And I did about 10 years, and same thing, I got tired of retail. Retail's a hard job. So my wife, it's kind of like Victor's wife, she's got a lot of ideas. I just got to try to keep up. She bought a jumping castle one day because our son had a birthday party, and she said, hey, I saw this castle thing up in Tucson and I want to get one. I thought she was crazy. So she went and bought it. It was about $3,000, and I thought she was nuts. But she bought this thing. Everybody that came to the birthday party said, wow, that is really neat. Where'd you get it? She said, it's for rent. So next thing you know, every weekend I was setting up this jumping castle to rent it. And she was charging $100 a pop, which very good money, right? So we were making a couple $100 every weekend renting this jumping castle. She said, hey, let's buy another one. So, okay. So she bought another one. And then after that, she bought 2. And then she just kept buying these things. We got up to 10 castles. And guess who had to set them up? Me. So, and I was doing this between, working also. Anyway, she said, we need a building because now we can't run this thing out of the garage anymore. It's getting too big. So she rented an old flower shop that had gone out of business. She says, well, I'll put some flowers and cake supplies in there. So she did, and balloons. That took off. And then our customers started asking for, hey, when are you going to get some tables and chairs? Because we rent your castle, but we want tables and chairs. So she went and bought those. Guess who set them up? Me. At this point, I started hiring employees. That went into, we bought tents, and then we started getting into dunk tanks, and you name it, all the party stuff. By accident, it turned into a business we never expected. But it was a lot of hard work, and that was, I think, to me, key. It was just that hard work and just taking care of. The biggest thing we did was take care of our customers, and they just kept flocking back to us. Where I had to turn away business, we were so busy. We did that through right around year 2000, and she had a great idea. She wanted to move to the big city because she was tired of the small Douglas life. So she said, you need to go apply at Walmart again and see if you can get your job back. Of course, I said, you're nuts. And she
want to be treated differently. They don't want to feel like somebody's managing them. And for us at Surf Shack, and it hasn't always been that way because I learned the restaurant business from old school guys where it was like, you do what I say, it doesn't matter if it sounds like the dumbest thing. That's the way I've done it, and that's the way you're going to do it, and that's the way everybody's going to do it. So we kind of take a different approach. All our people, we don't call them, we don't see them as employees, we see them as family members. And we don't have managers, we have our team leaders, which just are basically people that have earned that the right to be a team leader by their performance and by doing what's needed and by taking the initiative to just kind of learn on their own. So I think the world that we live in, if we approach it from that management or managing people part, I think we just make it difficult for ourselves. So I think the hardest thing is just to look at it that way. So we just try to look at it completely different.
One of the hardest things that I deal with in management is recognizing the hard work. In the Gallup office, we oversee 4 individuals. We look at reports all day long, so we see who our hard workers are, who is kind of slacking, and trying to address individuals. You need to increase your production in the most polite way you can. And I find that hard sometimes because I can't look at an individual half the time and tell them, you're not doing well. And trying to figure out a plan to make an individual increase production. It's a lot of give and take. And I know that an individual, if you're working with an individual, you don't want to put too much stress on them because you'll lose that person, and that's a loss of production. You definitely want to listen to your employees. You want to get their input, but you also want to be the main person to direct that individual to be successful in your business. That's what I find hard, is trying to keep that motivation and trying to recognize hard work even if it's slow.
In my dealings with management, I think the hardest thing to deal with is having a team member who doesn't want to be part of the team, and trying to get them to either get on board with being part of the team, and having the compassion and the desire and the drive to achieve the tasks at hand and to work towards the goal. It's difficult, as Angelica says, to find someone who has the compassion and the motivation to do what you want them to do. And then in dealing with them when they no longer want to do that, I think that's probably the hardest thing I've ever had to deal with, is telling that team member that they're no longer part of the team. And that is definitely one of the things that I do not like about managing people, and that's a hard thing to do. So my suggestion is to be very selective and very thorough when choosing your team members to help you get to your goal.
I agree with what you all said about management. That is the hardest thing, is holding people accountable and being fair and consistent. We're dealing with people, and everybody's different, so you have to take into account their skills, their skill levels, learning abilities, family issues. A lot of times people have things going on at home that we might not take into account when we make our decision. So, and that's the hardest thing for me, is just trying to be fair to that person, and at the same time trying to help them through whatever issues are going, whether it be a training issue, or a family issue, or a learning issue. And sometimes it's just I don't want to do the job issue, and you got to determine that and deal with it accordingly. And I think that's the hardest thing.
The next question from here is, what do you consider the key factor in your professional success? Let's go this way.
I think for me the key factor is just hard work. I don't have a college education, so I tell people I went to the school of hard knocks, right? A lot of us my age and in my position went through that same school. It's just the path that I chose, I guess. I made the decisions that put me down the path that I took. But I think that the key factor to get me where I am right now is just hard work, that work ethic, that I'll do whatever it takes, and nothing will stand in my way. So that's what got me here.
I agree with John as well. I think the key factor for my success is being willing to do what it takes to get the job done, no matter how long it takes. And to have the goal in front of you and know that if you want to get there, there's sacrifice that comes with it. And, success comes with hard work. And so you have to be willing to do what it takes to get to that goal. I think that's the key.
I totally agree. If you have a goal, if you have, sales, or if you have, you have to spend money, you have a goal, and you got to do what you can to reach it. Another thing in professionalism is, selling yourself. You definitely want to make sure you stay focused. You want to present communication, definitely key. And those actually help with your success path in any kind of workforce. So you definitely want to just stay focused and keep it together.
I think you guys kind of see a recurring theme. One of them is hard work. Another thing that I feel is, like John, I also decided not to go to college. I actually dropped out after my first semester, my senior year, because I was making money now, but I was willing to do that hard work. So it's that, and also as I got older, it was to continually educate yourself. And education doesn't have to just be coming to college. You just learn from other people, and when you stop learning from anybody, then I think you stop. So I learned you have to be able to learn something from everybody that works for you, or you work with, or your supervisors, managers, whatever. Just continually educating yourself. One of the ways I do that is just I read. I just read whatever books I can get a hold of. My goal is to read at least one book a week. So.
Just in case, guys, NMSU Grants has a really strong business program. In case you're interested, just come see me in my office anytime. Welding, we have a great welding program. See Mr. Gutierrez, he'll hook you up. Take care of you. I want to jump ahead a few questions here since we are approaching 7, and I did promise the speakers I'd get them out between 7 and 7:15, so we're going to jump ahead here. Let's go to the 4th question then. What advice would you give someone who wants to set up their own business?
I actually admire people, and every once in a while I have somebody come into my business and ask me, hey, I'm thinking about opening this shop or that shop, and the only advice I give them is do your due diligence, do some research, know what you're getting into, and be willing to listen to somebody who has maybe a little bit more success than you do at that point, and just go for it. I mean, you have to be willing to fail to succeed. So you can't be afraid. If something goes wrong, it's not the end of the world. Me and my wife dabble in all kinds of stuff. Other than just our restaurants, we do all kinds of stuff. So you just got to be willing to go out and get it and put in the time and the effort.
I am not a business owner. Seems a little hard. But my advice is you better have a plan. Somewhere from finding money, keeping money, finding the right people, and definitely trying to make it successful. If you don't got a plan, you're probably not going to be successful with your business.
I have not owned a business myself. My parents owned a business, and my husband owned a business. So I feel like I can speak to what's needed. Again, hard work. You have to be willing to do everything that no one else is willing to do. You do have to have a plan, and you have to stick to the plan. And you have to be willing to take criticism because I call it failing forward. You don't stop just because you have a problem or an obstacle or a challenge. You just it's just an opportunity and work close, and you got to find a way to overcome it and move forward. But owning your own business is tough. You have to be willing to put the time into it to make it successful. It's like anything, you get out of it what you put into it.
I agree with having a plan, very important, but you want to gain as much knowledge about what you want to do as you can. You want to talk to people that are doing it, have done it successfully. You don't want to talk to somebody that failed because they failed, right? So you always want to make sure you find a good mentor and do a lot of research. You got to know exactly what you're getting into. Getting into business is complicated, just dealing with the government, the tax laws and IRS and payroll and stuff like that. It's pretty complicated. But the biggest thing I can tell you about business is you want to serve your customer. Because if you don't serve your customer, you're not going to have a business. You want to always exceed your customer's expectations. Give them more than they expect. One of the things when I had my jumping castle business is we used to rent the things for 4 hours, and it was $100 4 hours. Well, guess what? The castle was always out for 8 hours. Because I'd always show up early, because the town that I lived in was predominantly Hispanic. Well, Hispanics have big parties, right? And they're never on time. So if they say 4 to 8, guess what? Everybody's there at 2. So guess what I did? I set it up early, got the thing going. I left it. I tell them I'll be back at 8 for it. When I showed up at 8, guess what? Hispanics don't have parties that end at 8. They go on till midnight. So, and that's just a fact. And that was my little gimmick. I knew that the thing was going to be there from 2 to midnight. I didn't tell them that though. But when I showed up at 8 to check on it, I would tell them, hey, guess what? I'll just throw in a few extra hours. You know what? I'll pick it up tomorrow. These people were my customers for life. I had 2 other companies that were my competition. Sometimes they wouldn't get any bookings, and they would wait for me to give them my overflow because people came to me first. And it's just, it's just simple little things you do like that. You take care of your customer. They will keep coming back, and they will just always come back to you. So, and I think that's the key thing to having a business.
What kinds of advertising do you use to promote your business?
Well, that's really changing. The last few years, it used to be a lot of newspaper advertising, radio advertising. That's on the downhill. Most people don't use a lot of newspaper anymore. Guess where it's all? It's all online now, right? Facebook is huge. Even through my company, Walmart, we have a Facebook. Actually, my store has a local Facebook page, and we put clearance sales, whatever's going on, events. I'm not into Twitter and stuff like that yet, although I probably should be, but I'm pretty sure that anybody that's savvy about business is using anything they can online. YouTube, that's where it's at now. So I think that's just the future.
We use all different mediums of advertising, but mainly the internet, social media. In my business, a lot of our advertising is me selling myself, me selling my community, so the knowledge that I have about my community is what I bring to the table. And so a lot of our advertising is face-to-face and just getting in front of them and, showing up with print collateral and backing it up with, check out this website, look at this, and those kinds of things. But I also work through the entities that I represent, the City of Grants, the Village of Milan, and the county, and expand on their assets and their advertising abilities to help advertise my business as well.
We have the workforce is that we definitely use social media. We do have Facebook. But me personally, I'm not going to get much progress done if I'm sitting on my butt all day in the office. Unfortunately, I have to get out there. I have to talk to different partners. I work along with the chambers. I'm talking to a lot of employers out there. And a lot of what I use is word of mouth. If I have one individual I work so hard with, that individual is going to tell another individual, and it's just going to be a chain reaction. And that is just how our workforce program gets out there, is, by success stories and by letting people, one person may know 5 may know 15, and it just keeps adding up.
I think for us, our biggest thing is, and I don't know if that's a form of advertising or not, but we just depend on word of mouth. Now, that could be tricky because, mostly if somebody goes in and has a good experience, they might tell one or two people, but if you go in and have a bad experience, you're going to tell 20 to 30. So we have to be very careful. We do some stuff, and I think a lot of that word of mouth is just developing relationships with the customers. We advertise, a little bit with our local paper, with Donald over there, and with our radio station. And most of the time, I think we do it because we've known it for so long. So if Donald or anybody from down at the Beacon calls us, or Don Webb on the radio, he just called me and says, "Hey Vic, I got this cool, super new thing I want to do." I tell him, "Do whatever you got to do, send me an invoice, and I'll take care of it." And we do the same thing with we depend on them. They're the experts on newspaper. I don't know what I should be printing or not printing, or writing or not writing. So I depend on them. But that kind of happened over the years, developing those friendships, getting to know them, and then and so we do that just because we know those guys at the radio station, at the newspaper. But for us, we depend on word of mouth. I know we're turning into a social media world, but I still believe no matter what happens, at the end of the day, it's really that face to face. Somebody has a good experience. So.
Sorry, I was on my phone. I was tweeting about our event tonight. So follow me on Twitter if you'd like.
Next question here. Let's do a couple more, and then we'll move to the audience Q&A. So, audience, think of your questions and what you'd like to ask our panel members this evening. How do you balance your home life and work life? Tricky question.
That is a tricky question, especially when you work with your spouse. When we first moved here to New Mexico, and me and my wife were both working at our first restaurant, we saw each other all day, and then we went home and saw each other all night. So it can become a challenge. So you need to kind of prioritize. As I grew older and hopefully wiser. I remember when I worked out at the paper mill, and I wasn't in control of when I could be to work or not be to work or decide to close. The biggest fights we had is that, because it never fails, don't forget, Vic's play is tonight, be there at 6. I don't care what happens, I don't care if the mill blows up, and guess what? Every time one of those conversations happened, the mill blew up, and I had to stay, and so it's kind of tough. So, but you have to prioritize. Now, to me, a holiday, Easter, closing for Easter, so I can spend some time with my grandbaby, is way more important than if it was my busiest day of sales, and I will give that busy day of sales away so I can spend quality time that I know. That's the only thing we can't get back is our time. So we want to, use it wisely.
Good question about home and work. My work is my family. I spend numerous hours with my coworkers, so they are my family. But of course, I do have siblings, I have parents, I have a son, and when I'm away from work, I gotta cherish those moments. Unfortunately, I was telling you earlier, I was dreaming of files when I get home. And it's hard because, if you're really committed to your job and you want to be good at it, unfortunately, that just never leaves your mind. But you do have to, cherish the time you have with your family, despite the many hours you work.
That is a tough one. When I was a stay-at-home mom, I chose to do that. And so I took care of everything. My husband owned his own business, and so he was never home, and I did it all. Mowed the lawn, ran the kids, made the food. I did it all so that he wouldn't have to worry about it. And, because I wanted him to be able to concentrate on work. And so now, 15 years later, I'm here, and I'm away from my family. We're living apart. They're in Texas. The kids are all grown up now, and so now, you know, he works, but now he's taking care of the kids, and I'm never home out working, and you know, I work a lot of hours, and because I am here by myself, I work long hours, but it's a sacrifice, but I agree with Victor and Angelica as well. You have to prioritize the things that are most important to you.
When I worked down along the border, the currency of the Mexican peso devaluated from one day to the next. There goes all your sales, everything you had planned, you know, for the next few months was out the door. So, you know, just unpredictability of the economy sometimes can cause some problems. So you always have to be prepared for that and have a backup plan, because sometimes, as well as we plan, it's, you know, things don't happen like we want.
What types of problems have I faced? I've been very fortunate not to have a lot of problems per se. However, you know, I've always, well, since I've worked with the chamber and now here in economic development, I work for boards of directors, and so those are usually comprised of anywhere from 8 to 15 people. And you know, you get a big group of people together, and everyone's idea about how it should be run or what you should be doing, everybody has a different idea. So really just trying to get everybody on the same page and get them on board with what you think your idea is, what you should be doing and how you should be going about your business is not a problem, but it is a challenge. And so how did I overcome that? I just, you know, communication is key, being open and transparent, and then being accountable for the goals and the measures that they put in front of you. And if you can't be, you need to be honest about it and discuss it with them so that you don't have problems come up that you can't take care of. I just think, you know, communication is key in that area.
I face a lot of problems in my job. But you know, I don't know how we fix it. We just communicate. It happens. You know, a lot of problems that I face is not meeting my customers' expectations. So I got to deal with, you know, trying to do what I can to the best that I can to keep that customer. We have a program where we fund an individual, they may not get funding. So I have to go around and try my hardest to figure out what fell, what broke the process. You know, and I got to keep reassuring my people that, you know, mistakes happen, but I'm doing the best I can to try and help you. Other problems I face is if there's a slack in production. You know, I always come back to production because my job relies on numbers. So if there's something lacking or there's not enough production, you know, we got to come back as a team and figure out how to make it happen. So we having frequent meetings, talking on the phone a lot, trying to outreach, you know, always trying to find a solution to somewhere where you're not meeting production, where you're not making sales. So communication is definitely a key part in trying to figure out a solution to your problem.
For us, one of the things problems that we faced, we came from a completely different market. We came from a very competitive market, not only in the restaurant business, but for anything else. So back home, if my food supplier didn't call me to get my order, or if they weren't able to deliver what I needed, you know, there's 10 people that are willing to be there right now and take that business. The predictability also, you know, back in LA, you know, every holiday everybody is off. You're going to be super busy. you could plan which days you needed to have extra help. Here in Grants, when we first got here and we, holidays started coming by and we would have extra staff and I would make extra everything prepared. And I didn't know that there was 2 weddings and a dance somewhere. So my busiest day became, I had 3 customers for the whole night because everybody's getting the free food. So we had to adjust right away. And one of my biggest challenges is still now, we go to trade shows and we go to all these professionals and they tell us the new trends and marketing and this and that. And, I can only take a small portion of that and say, you know what, this is Grants. This isn't San Francisco. This isn't New York. This isn't Dallas. This is Grants. So I can use a little bit of that stuff, and everything else you just got to throw away and kind of do what you have to do right then. So the way we have to overcome stuff, just you have to be able to adjust on the fly. Some days where we think we're going to be super dead, all of a sudden I didn't read the newspaper and I didn't know there was a baseball tournament. So we think we're going home at 9 o'clock and all of a sudden 5 teams come in. And, our flexibility is, hey, we close at 9, but guess what? We're going to take care of these guys because next time they come to town, we want them to come here, not to the chain places, and we'll stay open until 10:30, 11:30, whatever time it takes. So.
For the sake of time, let's open it up to the audience. Any questions that you guys have? We could probably take a handful of questions. Speak loud, Kelly.
Okay, my question is for John. One of the biggest questions I've had since moving here is, why do you guys want to do an education? There's no UNM campus, but yet there's no availability of NMSU apparel or anything like that. Yeah, why do you have UNM apparel and not NMSU apparel?
And a lot of the buys, we don't order anything at the store level now. It's all because we're so big. We have corporate buyers, and a lot of times they're not informed, and that's where I need to reach out to the community and get more information, because I need to tell them that they're buying the wrong stuff. Because, we're all about sales, and if I know that something is going to sell in my store, guess what? I want to get it in. So, if you just meet with me afterwards, I'll get some more details, because stuff like that, as I'm learning, the community and getting to know people, a lot of people are telling me this would be better, you'd probably sell this. And I'm actually working with one of your local manufacturers here to get like the wood pellets in our store. And it's a process because the guys in Arkansas, they like to buy nationally, they like to buy from the big guys, and I'm trying to get them to buy from the little local guys here. That's my goal, is to promote as much as I can locally. We have this buy local campaign sometimes, and sometimes I don't believe it myself, because the hoops that they make me jump through to get that stuff in. But, I'm going to overcome that stuff, and so just meet with me, and I'll see if I can get that stuff in.
How do you deal with conflicts with employees and in some cases bullying, and especially when both employees are both assets to your business?
So the question, I believe, was how do you deal with conflict between employees, particularly bullying?
And in some cases bullying, because we have conflict, especially when both employees are both assets to your business.
Both employees are assets to your business.
I think that would have been a pretty easy question until you got to the last part of it. Because normally, when you have a problem child, they're not an asset. So it's very difficult, but you just, for me, being a small guy and everybody that works for me being kind of like family, it's both a pro and a con, because if we had 300 people, everybody doesn't really hang out with everybody. But when you have 10, we're having picnics together and we're going out. I take all my guys, and I call them field trips. So I'll take my whole crew, we'll shut down early one day and we'll go watch an isotopes game. And we use it as a learning experience, so that even builds our team a little bit tighter. And I think somebody talked about it earlier. If we start from the very beginning and try to pick good people from the get-go, you don't get into those problems, but you never know. So if I had, I don't know, I've never had that where I've had two productive people have conflict, other than small stuff that you could talk about it. But, when we have a bad night and there's anything happens, everybody stays late after we close up and we finish up and we talk about it. Hey, what went wrong? What could we have done to not let it escalate to that level? And sometimes you have to make a hard choice, and I think some of these guys talked about it earlier, letting somebody go. We have certain rules that are no questions asked. If you do this, it doesn't matter how productive you are, and it's just a tough choice that you have to take, and you have to be firm about it, because you can't do it for one guy and not for another. So.
And working for a large corporation, of course, we have policies in place for stuff like that. Normally, I want to talk to both individuals and get both sides of their story. Then I'm going to bring them together and we're going to try to hash it out. One of the things, we do have a policy at Walmart, and it's called respect for the individual. And if any time that you break across that line, we can terminate you, because like you said, bullying, that would not be tolerated, because you'd be breaking that policy.
Nendley had a hand up the last time, so I'm going to go to you, then we'll go to Chris, and we'll go to President Sons. We're going to go to Nendley first, and Chris, and then finish up.
I would just like to know about your volunteerism and community involvement, the stuff that you don't get paid for.
Well, actually, we have Walmart has it's called VAP, Volunteerism Always Pays. When my associates get involved in the community event and they file the right paperwork, the company will actually make whatever the payroll that they would have got paid, they will donate it to that organization. There's some paperwork to fill in. One of the things we did recently, like the Easter egg hunt, we got really involved with that. One of my goals, while I'm here, I'm going to make sure that all my associates are out there getting involved in the community. When I first got here, I had a lot of local people tell me, Walmart doesn't do anything here. We asked you guys, nobody wants to do anything. So first thing I did was I got involved with Relay for Life a few months back. So we have a team, we're involved. It kind of got some of my associates pumped up, so now I got them volunteering. The Easter egg hunt, apparently we used to do our own out in the dirt lot, in previous years. When they told me about that, I thought, well, that's just kind of, I don't know, it didn't sound right to me, eggs in a dirt lot. So, they were going to rent a bulldozer and clear the lot, and, they had all these plans, and I asked them, how much is this going to cost us? And of course, well, the rental on the machine is going to be about $400, and, how much payroll? Well, it's going to be about, $800. So I put all that, added all that up, and I said, well, why don't we just take that money and donate it to the city grants? Which is what we did. We got in contact with Grants Mainstream. Well, guess what? They were elated when we called them, right, and said, hey, we want to get involved. And they said, okay, well, great. We want to, this is what we want to do. We want to donate a bunch of stuff. Oh, okay, great. We want to donate 8 bikes for prizes. Oh, wow, great. You know, how about a TV for a prize? They got real excited. They were at the store in about an hour. They want to have a meeting. So, you know, it's just giving back to the community. I had maybe 20 associates went to the Easter egg hunt. That's all. That's going to come back to the grants mainstream because now they're putting in for a grant so they can get paid for that. So it's just there's a lot of ways that we can give back. You just nobody ever tapped into those resources that my company offers to the local communities, and I want to make sure that going forward, you know, a lot of these little things that are going on in town. We just had a health fair at the big building over on the Future Foundation, on Monday that we were involved with, and it's just stuff like that I'm not forcing them, but I encourage my associates to participate and get involved.
When I worked for the Chamber of Commerce, I was very involved in a lot of community service efforts. I was a member of the Lions Club, and I volunteered my time for the Crowley House of Hope, which was an emergency assistance center. Was on the board for PTA, was a team mom for youth sports, and a dead mom for Cub Scouts and Boy Scouts, and just very, very involved. So not only the community service that was required for my job, but the community service that was required for my children to be in things as well. But since I've moved here, I don't do any one community service thing in particular. However, I give my time, a little bit of my time to everyone. I try to attend all of the community events. I volunteer as much as I can to help either Main Street or the Chamber or, you know, the city, village, county in any way I can. And my philosophy on that is that you have to lead by example. Nobody else is going to get out and volunteer if they don't see you volunteer. You can't ask somebody to do something that you're not willing to do yourself. So if you want people to volunteer, then you have to lead by example and go out and do it yourself as well.
I have to agree with Eileen. Unfortunately, my organization don't do much community service up there. My whole goal is to actually promote my program. It's an incentive to the community of Seminole County. Our main headquarters office is in Santa Fe. I know they do a lot of outreach, and they do a lot of community service involvement, and they do a lot of volunteering and time. Unfortunately, me being one staff here in Seminole County, the only way I can outreach is just attending a lot of events, trying to get the word out that I'm here.
That's kind of for small business owners, especially in this area. I think that could become a challenge, and it becomes tough to decide. Over at Surf Shack, we know that because of the community, because of all the sports teams that come in there and the school and stuff. So we sponsor teams. A lot of the times it's harder to get involved with the high school teams, but normally when I do something, I kind of try to do things with some of the teams that aren't, everybody wants to go watch the boys basketball team, and everybody wants to go watch the football team. But sometimes the girls, so for us, I would rather, and I guess you got to pick one or the other, but sometimes I would rather help out with the girls softball team, which doesn't get some of the recognition as some of the other more known or attended sports. We try to sponsor, at least one team, Little League. We sponsor men's league. We sponsor co-ed softball teams, and then we get ask for contributions for a lot of individual kids that are trying to get to different events that they're going through. So one of the things we kind of do is probably in any given week we could give from 5 to 10 requests. So what I have people do is bring in a letter of what they're trying to raise money for, or what they're trying to do, and then we might get together with with our team leaders and sometimes we have to vote. And the reason it makes it difficult that way is because most of the time, if we can help a group for the same amount of funding and help 10 or 12 kids, it kind of makes more sense than helping one individual kid, which I don't know if that's fair or unfair. Unfortunately, we have a limit of what we can give out every week or every month, and we just hope that we make the right decision for somebody that's doing some of the more positive things. So I would rather help a kid that's doing maybe something to do with school instead of helping a kid that just wants to be on the traveling basketball team. To me, kind of the importance is a little bit at that age. They should be focused more on school events, leadership trips to the capital that they take, things like that, where they're going to get educated instead of maybe helping a kid who might have a high degree of skill in basketball, but it's more of a luxury thing than maybe something educational. So, but it's very tough to decide.
Chris, you got your hand up.
So I wanted to ask, for those of us who might be interested in starting a business, but we don't have any money saved up, we might not have like a very good credit, how could we go about getting maybe investors or people who are interested in helping us start our business?
I do have a class.
Hey, one of the things that my wife, when she opened her party business, we lived in a small town, and they have microloans through, I'm not sure who around here would be doing those, but she was able to because it was a rural area and she was going to employ a few people, she was able to secure one of those loans, and that's what she actually used to buy her initial equipment to start up her business. And it's the government-backed loan, so you might want to look into that. I'm not sure who does those, maybe.
There are organizations such as Acción, which do give microloans to entrepreneurs and small business people starting out. Basically, you're having to pledge some type of collateral in order to do it, and they're very, lenient in their requirements as far as your collateral. But what they're trying to do is help you establish your credit. So if you have bad credit, you need to start trying to establish good credit and find companies like Acción. Then there's the SBA. Know that with SBA there is a skin in the game requirement, usually 20% of whatever it is that you're trying to fund. But there are other organizations out there who do provide microloans, small business grants, and those kinds of things. But you have to be willing to have a business plan. You have to show that you're dedicated to what you're trying to accomplish. And so you're not just going to get a loan for a business, hey, I want to start a business. When I worked in the chamber business, I used to have people come in all the time and say, I want to start a business. What do I do? Well, what do you want to do? Well, I don't know. I want to start a business. So you have to have your business plan in place. You have to have your goals in place, and you have to have the finance end of it worked out as well, so that when they do look at your business plan, they can say, oh, okay, you need X amount of dollars, this is what you have to do to get to it, and then they can point you, if they can't help you, then they can point you in the direction of resources that can.
What about the SBDC?
Pardon me? The SBDC, the Small Business Development Center, offers assistance as well. Not necessarily financial assistance, however, they can help you put together loan packages and such. But again, they're going to look at that business plan. They're going to look to see that you've done your due diligence on the financial end to make sure that you are a bankable business. And so, but what the SBDC does is they assist you in helping you manage and do your business. bookkeeping skills, technical assistance, all of those kinds of things. So Small Business Development Center is very helpful in getting you to the place where you need to be to get your business started, and then they can also point you in the direction of those resources for funding as well.
And it's part of NMSU grants.
And Felicia said it's part of NMSU grants as well, so that's part of the land grants mission, is to assist small businesses.
Yeah, do your research. There are programs out there, and my only advice is learn how to grant write. You gotta definitely follow your plan, but you need to request that money professionally, and grant writing is key if you're wanting to start a business and you want to find finances.
I think in this area, the Small Business Development Center, when we first moved here, there was a lot of things that we didn't know that applied locally compared to, we had put a business plan together in Southern California, which wasn't completely the same things as here, so they'll help you find some of the requirements and get you set up so when you do approach a bank or an investor or whoever, they can say, hey, this guy did his homework. It looks like he kind of knows what he's planning on doing and what it's going to take to become profitable. So, and I think periodically we'll read stories in the paper on businesses that open up here in town that started through the Small Business Development Center and then took the right steps to get their funding. So.
Thank you.
And yes, we do teach business planning at Business 101. Actually, I'm sorry, it's Business 110 at a previous university. Felicia, you had a question.
Well, first of all, I'm Felicia Casabas, I'm the campus president of the summer. Not all of you. So thank you for giving up of your precious time and sharing your wisdom with our students. But this is a more personal question, and feel free if you're not comfortable to answer it, or at least give us a range. Today's payday at NMSU grants. You get paid on the 15th and the 30th. And we all work for money. But hopefully we work for earning that money, doing things we love for love. So would you mind, you always think of that USA Today insert that comes in, and it just recently came out a few Sundays ago with what people earn in America. Would you mind sharing? And some of you are younger than others, so some of you have worked for large companies, you run your own business. Would you mind telling us what you earn? What range do you earn? So these young ones here understand, that you don't start making $1 million a year right away. That it takes time, or tell us your earnings history, general. You don't mind, because I think that's important.
For me personally, I've been on both sides. Been self-employed, been worked for other people. When we first moved to Grants, living in Southern California is not cheap. So when me and my wife decided to come to New Mexico, we had a ton of credit card debt. The only thing that got us out here is she had a 67 convertible Camaro that we had restored, and it was a tough choice because that was the only thing that we had that could give us enough money to even make the move out here. And when we moved out here and opened up our business, we didn't draw a whole lot of salary. We were able to pay our personal bills and not a whole lot more. So we always tell everybody that we meet, back in California, we both still have family there, that we call New Mexico and Grants the land of opportunity. Because if you're willing to put a little bit of hard work, you can do whatever you want. You can open any business if you do your homework and you have the plan and you're willing to put in the time and effort. I went to work at the paper mill, started out as an operations guy, getting paid by the hour, and when you have that drive in you, you always want to try to do something better, or you think you're going to get better. And then I moved into a salaried position, so I thought I was cool, have my own desk, until I started getting my paychecks, and until I started getting those calls, hey, something's going on, you got to come in, and it's 3 in the morning, and then when you start breaking it down, just because you have a title doesn't mean you're making any more money when you break it down by how many hours you're putting in. So there's nothing wrong in being an hourly guy. It just depends what you enjoy doing. You know, when I decided to go to salary, I just got to the point where I said, you know what, I need something more challenging. And being in the paper business, which I had never been before, I had to do a lot of learning, and I had to be willing to continue to educate myself and learn and listen to the guys who did know what they were doing. Then when we opened Surf Shack, I always tell everybody I'm glad my wife had a real job, because you know, we had to not get paid a lot of times until we were able to pay down some of our debt. And it's taken us 10 years, you know, to be where we're at now. You know, we've been debt free for a few years, and we focused on delayed gratification and reinvesting back in our business for as long as we could, and to get to the position of being able to have my wife quit her job, so that we could spend, you know, more time at home. But in the restaurant business, you know, everybody thinks, you know, I'm sure a lot of people go in there, and if you go to Surf Shack, we have some very busy days, but we share this information with our employees too. Out of every dollar that comes into Surf Shack, if it's a good week, I might have 1 or 2 of those pennies that I can take home. You know, by the time you pay payroll and overhead and taxes and everything else, insurances. So if you want to get rich, don't go into the pizza business. If you love people, then definitely go into the restaurant business, and you can become successful and make a good life for yourself, and kind of control your destiny, your life. But it's going to take a few years before you are able to not have at least one person, unless you're willing to work all the hours and pay yourself at work to make any money. So,
speaking from experience, fresh out of high school entering the workforce, I was only making maybe $15,000, $16,000 a year. Going to college and finishing college, I now average from $33,000 to $35,000 a year. It is worth the college education. But, you know, my particular position, I am a funded in person, so my job could be gone tomorrow. But if you're that individual who works hard and, you know, does everything by the book, you know, and you're definitely performing well, you know, and I'm run by a board, so if I'm proving to the board, you know, this is my job, this is what I love to do, and I want to keep it, you know, they definitely like that, and that is why I keep my job. And the pay is definitely worth it.
When I graduated from college, I thought, oh my goodness, I'm just going to be making all this money. And my first job, I started out making $17,000 a year, and I thought, oh God, I went to college and I'm only making $17,000 a year. But you know, you have to start somewhere. Not everybody starts out making, you know, the big bucks, and you have to, you know, you have to put in your time, and you've got to prove yourself in order to get the salary that you want. When I went to the Chamber of Commerce, obviously I was making, you know, $38,000 to $40,000 a year, and then when you break it down by that, but if you break it down by what you're working hourly or the time that you're putting in, wasn't making as much as I thought I was making, but it was a job that I liked, that I enjoyed doing. So the offset in not making as much money as I wanted to, but enjoying the job that I was doing was worth that, you know, giving up the salary that in my mind I wanted to make. Here in this position, I'm in the mid-50s. Typically for a person in my position, they usually start out around $60,000 to $75,000 range. But I am new to this career field, and I'm very grateful for for my board to give me the opportunity to make that career change and to prove myself. When you break it down by the amount of hours that I work, my position is a salaried position. It is not an hourly position. Therefore, I am required to work however many hours it takes to get the job done. If that means 40 hours a week or 80 hours a week. I tend to work 50 to 60 hours a week, sometimes more, depending on what the tasks are at hand. So again, for me, because it gave me the opportunity to come back to my hometown, gave me the opportunity to help my community. I see my job as a labor of love, really, because it's something that I'm going to be able to do to give back to my community. So yes, would I like to make more money? Absolutely. Am I working to make more money? Yes, I'm working on getting that certification now, and hopefully I will be at the dollar level that I think I should be. However, at this point, I'm grateful for again the board giving me the opportunity to make my way in this new career field, and the salary that I'm making, I think, is appropriate for what I'm doing, and obviously I hope to make more, but I'm satisfied with what I'm doing, and I have great benefits, and I have a very flexible and very accommodating board that is very generous to me, and to me that is sometimes worth much more than all the money that you make.
Okay, one of the things that, and normally I do share my salary with my coworkers because I want them to have an incentive. I know when I was coming up through the ranks, it was always a mystery. What does that manager make? I never knew. What lit a fire under me was when I found out what my manager at the time was making. What his bonus potential was making. If he ran a store just right and everything was just right, he took care of his employees, and he made money for the company, because it's all about how much money we make from the company. If my store does well, they're very generous. If it doesn't, well, then they're not so generous. So my base salary is $80,000. That's what they pay for running this size. It's a small format store, but we have here in Grants. There's some large stores in metro areas like Phoenix. The base salary would be $120,000. But those are monster stores. You have 500 employees. They do $150 million a year in total sales. Here in Grants, we're doing about $50 million, which is quite a bit for a small town. My salary is $80,000, but my bonus potential is $75,000. If I could get everything just right, and of course there's a lot of factors. The economy has to be just right. Your sales and trends. There's a lot of factors involved, but that is a bonus potential. When I like to encourage college students is when I came up through the ranks. I worked my way up. It's hard now. They require a college education, so if you were hired on to Walmart, you would probably get as high as an assistant manager. Their base salary is about $40,000, which is it's not bad, but you would have trouble advancing from that position because they do require a college education. I was lucky enough that I came up through the ranks when they weren't requiring that. So it's very important that you guys pursue that college education. You need at least a bachelor's to be considered in business, business administration, or a similar field. So I encourage you guys, pursue that education because in today's market, it's worth a lot of money to you.
Thanks for helping me out with that business blog, John. I didn't even ask him for that one. With that, we're a little over the time that we'd hoped to be done. I do apologize to our speakers because they did come here voluntarily. I know Eileen, we were just sitting in a meeting last week, about 8 days ago, And she asked me about the event. She knew about it because we sit in several meetings together. And she said, "How are your speakers lining up?" And I said, "Actually, I need one more." And she willingly came. So, and I know each of them volunteered to come and do this. So if you join me giving them a big round of applause for their time.